Everyone, and welcome to First Take. I'm Carrie Champion with Skip Bayless and Stephen A. Smith. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you? What's going on, man?
You know, I miss that jersey,
yeah.
actually.
I don't.
Yeah.
You know, Ernestine told me last night, I don't know if she texted you about this, but she said you look like a little kid in that jersey.
He did look like
so
a little
going
kid.
on 50 years of age, maybe you should be wearing that jersey every day.
No. I think I look pretty damn good the way I'm at right now.
Okay.
If I should say so myself.
How was the response yesterday as you walked through the halls?
Forget the halls. Everywhere I went. New York, Bristol, everywhere. I mean, it was ridiculous. People were harassing me, laughing at me about my Tony Romo jersey yesterday. But I am a man of my word.
You are.
I said I would honor the bet, and that's what I did.
Cowboy fans are everywhere.
They're everywhere. That is true.
Whatever.
And speaking of you wearing that jersey, we have somebody on the show today who will definitely comment on Stephen A. in said jersey. Entertainer, rapper, and friend of the show, Fabolous, will join the desk. He's going to talk about whether or not the Cowboys are legit and also weigh in on Kobe Bryant's sage advice to young players in the league. Plus, what happened to the Steel Curtain? A former coach says the team is soft. The Steelers are soft. Wow. The gentleman also weighing in on that. But first, let's get right to the NFL power rankings. They're out for Week 7. And after the wins and losses, this is how it all shakes out, as you can see. Broncos are number 1, Chargers 2. The Cowboys move up a few spots to 3 after the Seattle win. And the Seahawks round out the top 5. Broncos were 2 last week. Stephen A., they're 1 now. Tell me, what do you think of the rankings?
Well, believe it or not, Skip Bayless, the Broncos being at number 1, I don't have a problem with. I have a problem with who's at number 2.
Oh.
It's the Chargers, and I think it should be the Dallas Cowboys.
Oh, okay.
I think the Dallas Cowboys should be the number 2 ranked team in the power rankings. I think when you consider the way they're running the football, how the ball control and what it's led to them doing, winning 5 straight, having the number 1 rushing attack in the game, number 1 in attempts as well, DeMarco Murray being a bona fide league MVP candidate at this particular moment in time, particularly fresh off of what Seattle was, the Dallas Cowboys defense was able to do against Russell Wilson in Seattle. I think when you look at it and you look at the way San Diego struggled to beat Oakland, along with them being a bit depleted because of the services or the absence of the services of Ryan Matthews. I think right now it's not just about the Dallas Cowboys having won 5 straight. It's that the brand of football that they're playing shows they can win anywhere. And I think because of that, I think you have to put them above everybody right now but the Denver Broncos.
And why Denver over Dallas?
Well, I feel Denver's over Dallas because their offense is high-powered. They're led by the great Peyton Manning, and you can trust them to do what they do on a week-to-week basis more than you can trust Dallas. People are still waiting for that accident to happen when it comes to the Dallas Cowboys.
Well, are they?
Meaning getting in their
Maybe
own.
you are, but I'm not.
You're not.
Getting in their own way. Getting in
Okay.
their own way as it pertains to.
But are these projection rankings, or are they what we've seen to date? Right?
Well, I think
To date.
I think
Right.
to me, it's what I've seen to date as well.
Okay. What do your eyes tell you? Eye test tells me Dallas is playing at a slightly higher level than Denver is playing at.
Okay. You can
You
say
disagree?
That. I disagree.
Okay.
I disagree.
I'll tell you why.
I think they did last weekend. I don't
Okay.
think overall over
All right.
the last 5 weeks that's been.
Okay, here's what I have seen to date.
Okay.
I have seen the Dallas Cowboys earn the right to be number 1 just this week in the power rankings. Now, I'm not saying that's going to continue because I'm going to stand by what I predicted. I said they were going to go 10-6 and win the NFC East. So I'm not predicting that they're going to go 15-1. That would be projecting these out. Yeah. But here today, from what I've seen so far, I say this team has earned the right to be slightly ahead of the Denver Broncos, who I think should at least be tied for second by the San Diego Chargers. I think that's a coin flip for the second place in the power rankings. And here's what I think about Dallas. I'll be the first to admit, I was surprised that they won at Seattle, but I was shocked at how they won at Seattle. And the how...
Well, we agree there.
Okay, the how is what was more impressive to me. Because you tell me, I wish I could have been in your shoes or next to you on your couch when the Dallas Cowboys got a punt blocked and returned for a touchdown that put them down 10-0 in that outdoor asylum up in Seattle. What were you thinking? It's over, right?
Let me answer that question.
10-0.
Let me answer that question just for your edification.
Thank you.
I wasn't on my couch.
Okay.
I was on Carmen's couch. My
Okay,
sister,
fair enough.
who was in the kitchen literally making lasagna for me.
Okay, good.
All right, and I
Yeah.
was sitting there languishing, chilling on the couch,
Yeah.
laughing
Yeah, I'm sure
at the
you were.
Dallas Cowboys, thinking that they were about to get blown out.
Okay, so they hand Seattle that 7. Then they fumble a punt and hand them another 7 points.
Yeah.
Then Romo botches a snap. We've seen that before.
Yes.
Going back to 2006. And hand them another 3 points. That's 17 gift points they give Seattle in their backyard.
And still won.
And they win 30-23.
Yes.
That's as impressive a win as we've seen all year in the National Football League. That eclipses the moral victory that Peyton and company pulled off after the debacle that was their Super Bowl when they lost in overtime at Seattle. And I throw on top of this from Dallas. Remember, they righted the wrong that was at New Orleans last year on a Sunday night by leading this year on Sunday night, New Orleans 24-0 at halftime.
Yeah.
At halftime, they're ahead of the Saints 24-0
Well, let's not
on
count
Sunday
the
night.
Saints. They're the Aints right now.
Okay, but still, that's impressive to me because that was the team that rang up an NFL record 40 first downs on you
them.
just last year.
Yeah.
So those two games just by themselves are a little more impressive than anything that Peyton has pulled off so far.
First of all, you and I agree with you.
Okay.
I get where you're coming from about the victory over Seattle. I disagree with you about the New Orleans
24
game.
to nothing?
Again, I think what we learned about New Orleans is that, in our eyes, to some degree, they were fraudulent. I'm not talking about complete frauds because we know they could play, and you got Drew Brees. Absence at Darren Sproles, they're not the same offensive team. But defensively, Rob Ryan, talk about falling off of his pedestal. He may be very well having one of the worst years you could possibly imagine because not only is his defense not that impressive, but it's on the heels of him being let go by the Dallas Cowboys and now ultimately Rod Marinelli doing the job that he's doing with that defense in Dallas right now, even though Rob Ryan could make the argument if Dallas had run the ball as effectively when I was there, I would have looked that great defensively as well. But here's the point. When you look at the Denver Broncos, they have one overtime loss this year to Seattle. Outside of that, victories over Indy, Kansas City, and Arizona before beating the Jets last week.
At home.
To me, I would find that to be more impressive than Dallas's victory over New Orleans, than their struggle against St. Louis, than, that kind of stuff. That's what I look at. So I'm saying to you, even though I go week to week with this like everybody else, and I will acknowledge that last week, Dallas was clearly the most impressive victory. There is no denying that as we look at power rankings right now, Denver, by and large, over the first 6 weeks of the season, they've been more impressive in terms of who they've beaten. The difference is the expectations for the Dallas Cowboys were so low, the shock value that comes with that. Like, wow, where did this come from?
Okay. Who is ranked number 1 in rushing in the National Football League? The Dallas Cowboys. Ranked 26th currently are the Denver Broncos.
You can't go by that, though.
Okay, but I'm just saying, if I'm doing eye test, I'm going to give a slight edge, if we're just doing it today, to the team that can run the football like crazy versus the team that is struggling to run it much at all. I'm going to give you a little edge, Dallas Cowboys, because you're number 1 in rushing. Don't you like the way they're doing it by running
I do like the fact that they're doing it by running the football, but at the same time, Skip, I'd be more impressed if they were doing it passing, because I would tell you that's something that would have really shocked the bejesus out of all of us, simply because it's Tony Romo and you're waiting for that to go down. In the case of the Denver Broncos, they've got the number 3 overall offensive attack in all of the NFL. They have the number 4 passing attack, okay? And you got to remember, they lost no Sean Moreno. They've got Monty Ball. Monty Ball goes down. They've got Hillman. You know you're going to pass the football or what have you. Wes Welker had missed the first couple of games. Yet and still, they go out and they still look like a high-powered offense. And all I'm saying to you is that I look at the Denver Broncos, and I think in terms of quality of competition, if I have to take into consideration both, with one loss on the season, I do believe they deserve a slight edge over Dallas, but only a slight edge. But that's only because of how Dallas won last week.
Okay, I'm going to make a quick case for the San Diego Chargers. And I said before the year they were going to be my break.
They're top 3.
Okay.
They're number 3 on my list.
Just remember, on opening Monday Night Football on the late game, they led 17-6 at Arizona going into the fourth quarter. They did blow it, as we've seen them blow it before, and they ended up losing 18-17. But after that, they beat Seattle, and now they've won 5 straight games. That's pretty good. They also beat Seattle, albeit in 118-degree temperature or whatever it was.
They're incredibly impressive, and what we have to pay attention to with the San Diego Chargers, they're the number 2 ranked defense in the NFL. Yeah. These boys are playing some defense. Give them credit where credit is due.
That boy, that quarterback.
And Phillip Rivers is the leading MVP candidate as far as I'm concerned. What is he completing? Like nearly 69.3% of his passes. 70%. I can't say enough. The bottom line is very, very simple. San Diego is a team to be reckoned with. McCoy's doing a fabulous job, but San Diego is setting everybody up for a huge disappointment unless Ryan Matthews comes back healthy and can run the football effectively against them. Because no matter what I'm seeing from Phillip Rivers, with Keenan Allen, with Antonio Gates and the crew, you can't convince me that San Diego is going to make any noise come postseason if they can't run the football.
Okay.
It's not happening.
All right, week 7, Cowboys are third again on the power rankings. It's pretty interesting because when the season started, there were the chances for them to win the Super Bowl, 75-1. Now they're 12-1. That's crazy. They really are going by the eye test. They like the Dallas Cowboys.
Well, you have to like the Dallas Cowboys, Kerry. You win in the National Football League when you run the football effectively.
And they're doing it the best.
Season, especially. You got to be able to do it.
We don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but it looks good for our boys.
You can play anywhere. That's what's interesting about the
Cowboys. Good running game, good defense.
Inclement weather, it doesn't matter.
They do it all.
Football, you can win football games.
Well, let's talk about the Packers, shall we? They're number 9 in this week's power rankings. This after the win that they had over the Dolphins. Some say that Aaron Rodgers' fake spike, no bueno. That was Skip's take. Stephen A. simply said, that's my man. He did well. Well, Rodgers responded.
Aaron Rodgers tries something that he's now applauded for. He went Dan Marino. This was as high risk and maybe as dumb a risky play as you could attempt at this point with no timeouts left. Aaron Rodgers is getting applauded for something that could have blown up in his face and made him the GOAT of the game instead of the hero of the game.
As far as the criticism goes, I think that's where some of the comedy comes in to me. You have to find humor in it because, I get criticized for holding the ball too long and not taking risks, right? So then there's the risk versus interception. But then I fake a spike and throw it to Devontae and get criticized for taking risks. Critics are always going to win as far as getting their criticism out there because they can make up new things to criticize whenever they want, and use stats or feelings or whatever to fit their specific thing they're criticizing.
He said criticize probably 30 times in that statement. Skip, because you did criticize, your response.
I guess it's going to come off as more stand-up comedy to Aaron. But, Aaron, I invite you, once again, if you'd like to come on our show and debate this play, I would be happy to do that. So I don't want to come across as unopposed here today, although I think I'm about to be opposed by my man Stephen A. Smith. But I stand exactly by what I said on Monday. And I opened my remarks by saying I have to give Aaron Rodgers this. He did pull it off. He did ultimately throw the touchdown pass that he needed to throw to win the football game. But I stand by the fact that he attempted what I would call a dumb, high-risk, low-reward play that could have blown up on him because it could have ended and cost him the football game. Can we reiterate what the situation was?
Sure.
They're at the 16-yard line. They're 16 yards away from a touchdown with 12 seconds left and no timeouts. And Aaron admitted after the game he was freestyling. This wasn't really a play. This is one he just made up on the fly. And his best receiver in the slot, Jordy Nelson, didn't even know what was going on and didn't even come out of his stance. And Aaron Rodgers opted to throw it to a rookie, Davante Adams, who's just standing out there not knowing exactly what's going on, who took one step across the line of scrimmage and caught the football. He's being covered by one Cortland Finnegan. You know Cortland Finnegan. This is his 9th year. He's a former first-team All-Pro cornerback, known for his savvy and his physical tackling skills.
Who should have done a better job.
He had outside leverage. He was lined up a little outside of Adams toward the sideline. Remember, if you get tackled in bounds, the game is going to end. And for reasons I don't know, and fortunate for Aaron Rodgers, Cortland Finnegan froze for a second, and Adams did a little move on him and got outside to the boundary. Here came behind him a Jamar Taylor who was ready to help make the tackle. So if Cortland Finnegan merely just attacked Adams and got him around the ankle and held on for dear life, I'm pretty sure Jamar Taylor would have cleaned it up and the game would have been over. So let's look at the play everybody applauded and gave Aaron Rodgers credit for mimicking, the Dan Marino play. Could we look at that real quick? This was a planned and practiced play. Remember Mark Ingram, who's
I remember.
Okay. So here we have Dan Marino faking the spike, hoping that Aaron Glenn, the cornerback, will drop his guard for just a second because they're going to run a route into the end zone from only 8 yards out. And Dan Marino throws it into the end zone for a touchdown that wins the game because he deked the defense for a second because they paused. Well, in this case, Aaron Rodgers fooled nobody, and he's 16 yards away from a touchdown. And you're not throwing it to Jordy hoping that he's going to make a move on somebody. You're throwing it to your rookie hoping that he has the sense to just get out of bounds and give you one last shot at the touchdown pass to Corliss, which he did throw. That is a dumb play by a very good quarterback who has an MVP and a Super Bowl ring.
Allow me to retort. First of all, Skip Bayless, back to the issue. The issue.
I think I was on the issue.
No, well, I think that many times until you say back to the issue.
Or back to the question.
All right. Well, that's what I'm throwing at you right now. Because you see, I keep trying to tell you, instead of sitting there thinking you talking to our audience all the time, remember who you sitting across from. Because I know how slick you can be.
I'm not slick.
Let me tell you how you were just slick right now. I'm going to tell you how. I'm going to tell you how.
Well, please
I'm going to tell you how. I'm going to tell you how.
All right.
Skip Bayless. Everything you said was absolutely right.
But
you weren't wrong. But I keep trying to tell you, you ain't getting away with it. Skip, you leave out some little nuggets on purpose. For example, you're getting on Aaron Rodgers because Aaron Rodgers freestyled. Okay? He's Aaron Rodgers. When you're a bad man like he is, Skip, you get to do it.
That's all we got.
No, it's not about all we got.
Okay.
See, Skip Bayless, again, it's not about your facts. People make the mistake of trying to debate the facts with you. It's the stuff you leave out. Like this.
please.
If it were Tom Brady, you not doing that?
Yes, I am.
Let me tell you what you're doing.
I am.
Let me tell you what you're doing. This is what you're saying. Well, Tom Brady, he did this, he did this. Now, obviously, I didn't like when he did this and he did this. And he did that. But, boom. That's you. That's why you do it. And this is, but Aaron Rodgers, we must make this the focal point.
No.
We must make this the focal point because it's Aaron Rodgers. Skip Bayless, the same dude that is one of them. I'm glad that you reminded us that he won a Super Bowl because you usually forget that. You have selective amnesia when it comes to that.
You are so
But Tom Brady didn't win.
You wrong.
Tom Brady didn't win since 2004. But Aaron Rodgers didn't win one since 2010, but we got an issue. But that's fine. What I'm saying to you is this. Here's the deal. This same dude that is a Super Bowl champion, that is an MVP, that has thrown for over 4,000 yards in 4 of the previous 5 seasons before last year only playing 9 games, that presently at this moment in time, Kerry Champion, has 15 touchdowns, 1 interception, a quarterback rating of 111, a QBR of 82. Skip's got a problem with them. And what do we want to do? We want to peel out. The man won the game. But we want to sit there and carve out this particular play.
It was the play.
Excuse me, did it work? Did it work?
No, it didn't work.
It did.
He got out of bounds, so it didn't
work. Skip.
Did it score a touchdown?
It worked. Yes, the next play, Skip. The next play. The next play, Skip. They did. The point is, they gained yards in that particular play.
Okay, I just have one question.
And then they scored on the next touchdown.
Was this a high-risk, low-reward play?
To Skip. So what?
Was it? Oh, so what? Oh, so you're admitting it was?
Yes. But what I'm saying to you is this.
Yeah.
I'm saying that Skip Bayless, again, if it's Tom Brady, you point it out. If it's Peyton Manning, you point it out. If they do it, you point it out. But here's what Skip does. Yes, he did this, and look what he's doing. But obviously, that I wouldn't have done that. That wasn't wise. But anyway,
question. I'm going to defend myself here.
You please do.
Time out.
Please do.
What happened in the second Super Bowl against your Giants when Tom Brady threw it to Wes Welker and everybody said, Welker has to catch that football? What did I say the next day on the show?
I can answer that.
I said Tom Brady misfired through a poor pass.
That's right. But Because you were upset that they lost the Super Bowl. So you had all of those emotions to go with it. No, I'm saying they lost, but had they won.
I blame Tom Brady
but
for the loss.
Had they won, you would have brought it up, but you wouldn't have focused on it.
The game.
But they lost, Skip, so it makes sense.
If he makes a good throw,
but they
the game's
lost
over.
It makes sense. But here, you want to fall. Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers won the football game, and the man is playing lights out.
I don't care how he's playing.
Really?
No.
Really? Since when? You usually care about how everybody's playing.
No, I'm talking about this play. He makes a play.
Skip.
Okay, timeout. Think about this.
Go ahead, Skip.
And I'm going to give him a break.
Thank you.
Since you're doing your silly arguments back to me.
No.
Look, I'm giving you a break on this because on the previous play before the spike, he made another dumb decision. He throws it to little Randall Cobb over on the left side, inbounds with no timeouts left for like 4 yards.
Here's the bigger
what
question.
Are you doing?
Here's the bigger question. Yeah. Since you pointed out another dumb play that Aaron Rodgers made, what exactly are you trying to say about Aaron Rodgers? Let's get to that point.
I'm not saying anything except he's getting credit for a great last drive, and I didn't even bring this point up, but early in the drive on third down, he fumbled, and T.J. Lang is 315-pound tackle.
Did he fumble, or did he get hit? And obviously that's why he fumbled. It's not like he just he just stand down in the pocket taking pictures and drop the ball. He got hit.
Was that a great play?
I'm sorry. Did we not see Tom Brady, Drew Brees, Peyton Manning?
I criticize Jay Cutler all the time for getting strip sacked.
He got hit.
Okay.
He lost the ball. They recovered the ball. There are fortunate things that happened in favor of the Green Bay Packers and Aaron Rodgers that enabled them to win the game.
Was it not you?
In the end, is this a guy that is an elite quarterback that is playing at an elite level?
Timeout.
Yes or no?
What happened after opening Thursday night on Friday's show? You sat right in that same seat, and you told me that you were off the Aaron Rodgers bandwagon because he refused to go at Richard Sherman.
I said I was incredibly disappointed and disgusted, and I spent weeks being disgusted with him.
Okay.
And I said I couldn't even call him the bad. I said I couldn't even call him the bad man right now.
Okay.
But you see how objective I am?
Thank you.
Think about it. You're basically giving me credit for what I'm saying you don't do.
Okay.
In other words, if it was Tom Brady, well, I don't like it. But but anyway, he did that, and I don't like it. But with Aaron Rodgers, we want to make it a segment that he didn't score that touchdown precisely the way you would have preferred him to do so. The man is elite. He's one of the best in the game. He's got 15 touchdowns, 1 interceptions, 111 rating, 82 QBR. They're winning football
82?
games.
That's not very good.
82 is not very good.
It ain't Tony Romo. I can tell you that.
82 is not very good.
No.
And 82 QBR.
I mean, not by his standards.
Oh, so now we're recognizing that he has great standards.
Well, I just said he was an MVP and a Super Bowl champion.
And so did you not close it by saying that? And it's not good enough for an MVP and a Super Bowl champion.
All I know is that he criticized me as being comical, that it was comedy to him that I brought up this
Aaron
play.
Rodgers.
Aaron Rodgers, yes. And I'm dead right about this play. It was a dumb play that he got away with because a rookie got outside of Cortland Finnegan and got out of bounds.
Aaron Rodgers wasn't complaining about the play or the critics on the play. He was using the criticism of that play to highlight a bigger, more salient point, which is this. No matter what he does,
we criticize.
Some people are going to have something to say. That's what he was saying. He just used the play as an example. It wasn't like the play he's living off of it. He's saying that no matter what, every week he goes on his radio show to do his weekly segment, he is going to have to answer some criticism. He could go out there and could pass a 500 yards. He doesn't have to throw an interception. He can throw a number of touchdowns. But you're going to carve out, in a win, mind you, you are going to carve out what he didn't do. That's what he's saying. That is what he's saying, Skip.
I don't think he's saying that because
I guarantee
when
you
it's time for me to criticize Tom Brady after that stinker that he threw in at Denver in the AFC Championship game last year, I sat right here and said he was sorry for the whole game.
Time out. That was a loss. So? When have you done that to Tom Brady when he has won? When he has won, have you started out a segment the next day and go like this? Well, he could have done this better. If you do that, I don't recall that.
But you know
I might be wrong, Skip. I might be wrong.
Here's the point.
But I don't recall that.
This is the truth.
Sure.
Tom Brady would not have tried that stunt that Aaron Rodgers tried. Aaron Rodgers is playing pretty cocky football right now, and I brought it up because I watched a lot of this game. He's yucking it up on the field. He's laughing with the DBs. He's having fun. So he said after the game, I just freestyled. That wasn't a play that they knew was coming. It wasn't a play called in the huddle.
Right.
2 plays earlier, like watch for the fake spike. He just made it up in his own head and threw it to the rookie who's like, he took one step across the line of scrimmage and is like, wait a minute, I'm supposed to do what with this ball? I guess I better try to run. And he was lucky he got out of bounds.
Skip, and
that's a dumb play. That's all I'm saying.
And my response to you is that none of that was transpiring in terms of the cockiness, the bravado, the laughing and yucking it up, as you so eloquently stated, on the field when they were 1-2. It was only after he said,
he
relax.
did.
And ever since then, what have they done? They won 3 straight. I have no problem with it.
FSU has some tough decisions to make regarding their star quarterback, Jameis Winston. He could face 4 code of conduct charges stemming from a rape allegation in 2012. And on Monday, it was reported that he may have signed over 900 pieces for pay. Our Paul Feinbaum weighs in.
I would suspend him indefinitely. If I ran Florida State University, I probably wouldn't have put up with it as long as they have. I am shocked by Jimbo Fisher's demeanor, what he's had to say, considering he knows all this. You can argue the whole autograph situation going back to Manziel. That's a separate issue. But this is just another strike against a young man that seems to have no regard for authority or anyone else.
Oh, Paul Feinbaum saying that Jameis Winston doesn't have any regard for authority or anyone else. Stephen A., do you agree with his take?
No, I do not. And hopefully I'll get to talk to him later on today on my radio show to debate this issue with him, because I have so much respect for Paul Feinbaum. I think he does a sensational job with his radio show, and he obviously is a preeminent voice with the SEC and in college football overall. I just respectfully disagree with him on this particular matter, because when you say that he has no regard for authority, I certainly don't believe that Jameis Winston has helped make a case for himself against such allegations, such assertions. But let's face reality. Outside of the sexual assault allegation, it's a lot of stuff that has transpired that has been irritable. It's the kind of thing that could get you suspended for a game or two. Outside of that, not much would have been made of it. Now, there are going to be people that sit there and say, well, how could you say that about the whole BB gun thing, and especially after reading the article in the New York Times? But you have to remember, until the New York Times article came out, those details weren't made available to all of us. So as a result, you heard about a bunch of little college kids running around bothering folks with a BB gun. That's not usually the kind of stuff that gets you thrown off of a football team indefinitely. So now we have to go to the sexual assault allegation. Here's the bottom line. You have a female that was claiming she was sexually assaulted. That clearly was something that was not addressed with the level of seriousness that it deserved to be addressed by Florida State University. Okay? Law enforcement officials, even though they ultimately dropped the case, meaning the prosecutor in the case, he dropped it because of insufficient evidence while blaming the local police in Tallahassee for their handling of the case, of the matter. In the end, the case was dropped. Then, ultimately, it had to be revisited from a civil perspective because Florida State was investigating due to Title IX being invoked, okay? But the other side to it is that Jameis Winston adamantly claims that it was consensual, that he didn't assault anybody. So, to me, when I hear a Paul Feinbaum or anybody else use the word indefinitely when it comes to a suspension, you're basically convincing me that allegation is what is leaning towards you making such a profound decision. Because what you're saying is that with this smoke, this fire, your name has been mentioned too much. There's an absence of decorum, of discipline, et cetera, et cetera. I can understand that belief. But at the same time, what I'm sensitive to is convicting somebody in the court of public opinion without knowing for sure what they are and are not guilty of. Jameis Winston denied that allegation, plus he denied the autographs. So even though we might be inclined not to believe him, it's one thing for us not to believe him. It's another thing for us to have proof that he's lying. And absent of that proof, I don't know if you can summarily go about the business of suspending him indefinitely. Because we also have to make something. And whether it's sexual assault allegations, whether it's the BB gun, or a bevy of things you want to throw at somebody, we are now devolving in a society where that innocence until proven guilty doesn't apply anymore. It doesn't apply anymore. The mere fact that you are mentioned and accused of something, that usually is enough for somebody to be punished. Sometimes when if a person's name is mentioned on too many occasions, I get that. Something needs to be done. But as a society, based on who we are as a nation, we also have to be careful that we are venturing into a land that we may not want. We may not have ever bargained for, and that is being guilty until proven innocent. We got to be careful about that, too.
On this issue, I am with you on all that you just spoke. I can't see sufficient grounds for an indefinite suspension. That's a harsh thing, an indefinite suspension. Because here's all I know for sure at this moment about Jameis and what he has done and not done at Florida State. I do know for sure he walked out of a supermarket with crab legs.
Okay, that's a fact.
For that, he was suspended 3 baseball games, a weekend series against Minnesota. No big deal, but he was suspended.
Yes.
Then I know for a fact that fairly recently he stood on a table at the student union and he screamed an obscene phrase from a viral YouTube video that lots of kids are mimicking for whatever reason. Just
that
to
is
be
fact.
Kids, be cool, okay? And he did that, and for that, he was suspended for one entire football game that was pretty important to that school, the Clemson game,
That's right.
that his team was extremely fortunate to win without him. Is that fair?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, so I know those 2 things. I now suspect, this is just me, I suspect that he did sign items for money.
So
why?
I suspect that. Just because of the sequential list of items, there are so many into the hundreds. It's hard to believe that he just randomly signed for thousands of kids who then sequentially numbered all these items.
As Jimbo Fisher tried to allude to.
Okay,
Totally agree with you.
Okay, but do I have video evidence of that?
No.
As we had in the Manziel situation? I do not. And by the way, Johnny Manziel got suspended a first half against Rice.
And that's
for that,
it. Yeah.
with video evidence against him. Okay, so all the things that you said about the state attorney, Willie Meggs, we can go on and on about that. All I know is he ultimately concluded he could not find enough evidence, this is almost a year after the fact, that he thought he could get a conviction against Jameis in the sexual assault allegation. That's what he decided. And again, was that preferential treatment? I have no idea. I can only go with what the state attorney concluded, and he did heavily criticize the Tallahassee Police Department for being remiss in their job because they did not identify Jameis quickly enough as a suspect, and they didn't bring the case to Willie Meggs until 11 months after the fact, and he said, hey, maybe memories could have been a little better 11 months ago, and we could have come up with a few more facts. So I don't know what else to do with that but to go with this conclusion until we have a conduct hearing. Then I'm open-minded again. But at this moment, as we speak right now, is there enough against this young man to say you are indefinitely suspended? If you're a Florida State alum or fan and you just say, I'm sick and tired of him, I get that, that's enough for him, get him out of our sight. Do you really think that? I don't know.
Look, question for you both. You said you can't necessarily or agree with Paul Feinbaum with this indefinite suspension. So we have this conduct hearing. They find him guilty on
No, that's all.
They find him guilty. So then,
now we've opened up a big can
But
of
that's
worms.
just the school. So your thought then would be,
well, he's out. There are any number of things depending on what they find, but they can certainly he could be gone.
but as of now, not enough. I agree with you on that.
Let's
to say
this.
he can't be
Let's
suspended.
Let's say this.
Yes.
Of course, if the conduct hearing reveals something more definitive than we know, our opinions are open to change. But Paul Feinbaum is making this decision, this proclamation about what he would do short of that. So the issue is short of a conduct hearing definitively stating this is what we believed and this is what we find you guilty of. Basically, all we have to go on is what Skip and I just highlighted. Based on that, I don't see how anybody could say suspended indefinitely.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I'm disgusted with Jameis Winston.
Yeah.
And I do believe where there's smoke, there's fire.
Sure.
I do believe his name has been mentioned entirely on too many
you
occasions.
said that.
Yesterday.
I don't like it at all.
Yeah.
I think it sullies his name. I think it's brought unwanted the attention of Florida State. But at the same time, that doesn't mean that you snatch this kid's college football career away from him because of how you feel.
On balance, you say there was video evidence. Johnny Manziel only suspended a first half.
Yeah, and by the way, let me conclude.
Yeah.
about the great Paul Feinbaum.
We love
him.
him.
He knows way
He knows
more
what he's
about
talking
college
about.
football than I do, and way more about Florida State. So maybe he knows things
something that
don't
we
know.
don't know. Yeah. He is considered the mouth of the South, as they say.
He is
SEC
the man.
Network.
Yeah.
He is the man.
All right, well, our next guest will be performing at Def Jam's 30th anniversary concert tomorrow evening in his hometown of Brooklyn. We welcome Fabolous back to the desk. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, you're a friend of the show.
Yeah.
You've been here a few times.
Yeah.
Last time you were here, you said that ESPN First Take, they should let you host a show or get rid of Skipper Stephen A. I saw you tweet something of that nature.
I did.
Something to that effect.
I think it was get rid of Stephen A.
It was something to that effect.
Don't believe that, man. I was saying when y'all are away, I know when you got to go away,
Yes.
y'all can fill in.
Yes.
I believe you, bro.
He's away when he's here. So.
So you might as well come on and hang out. All right, listen, quickly, I know this is anniversary concert, but I'm looking at the list of people who are performing. I don't see LL Cool J. I don't see Public Enemy. Tell me about the anniversary concert and who will be there.
Well, I think it's a mixture of some of the guys from the past and some of the guys that are there now. So it's like me, Rick Ross, 2 Chainz, and then it's, some of the past Def Jam artists like Foxy Browns and, Method Man and Redman.
Nice.
So it's a fusion of both, so I think all together it should be a dope show for him.
It sounds amazing.
Method Man, Redman, that's
And 2
gonna
Chainz,
make it.
another friend of our show. All right, so let's switch. We're talking sports right now. We're talking about the Dallas Cowboys. From my understanding, you had an opportunity to see one Stephen A. Smith in that Romo jersey.
Yeah. I was confused by it. I didn't know the story behind it, so I was like, I know Stephen A. didn't bandwagon just jump
He
over.
did.
Come on now. You're not going to do that.
All right.
I lost the bet, man.
Oh, okay, okay.
I thought there was no way. If there was ever a sure bet that I had in my life, in my mind, I thought it would be Dallas getting stomped by Seattle Sunday. Matter of fact, I was so confident in it, I gave Skip the 8 points. The 8 points. And not only did they lose, not only did they not cover, they lost. I mean, I love Cam Chancellor, Richard Sherman and those boys are no joke, but I don't know how I feel about that.
Yeah, they let you down a little bit.
They let me down a lot.
I thought Halloween that came early or something.
It was for the show, right?
Yeah.
Right. So the Cowboys are ranked 3 in the power rankings this week. Week 7, they're number 3. Our question for you is, as you know much about the NFL, do you really think the Cowboys are legit from what you've been able to see so far this season?
I feel like they finally gelling a little bit, and it took them a couple years, but I think they're
17.
How many?
I think they're playing well, and it's starting to look a little more consistent. That's what I think Dallas's problem was in the past, especially Romo. People, questioning his consistency, and I think he's stepping up right now.
So where is your heart on this? Did you grow up a Giants fan? Would you call yourself a Giants fan?
I kind of grew up by default. My uncle was a very big Giants fan, so I kind of had to just, when you're sitting under your uncle, you can't root for the other team, so
At least not in front of them.
Right, definitely not in front of them. But I definitely was a 49ers fan then, but I kept that in my, the Jerry
Your
Rice
heart.
era, I kept that in my
Were you
pocket.
raised to hate the Cowboys the way others around here were?
I don't.
Nah, I don't think I was raised to hate them, but they were in the same division and they always was like a Giants nemesis kind of. So you never really could like them. I respected them, and I respected the Aikman, Emmitt Smith era.
I had no question about it. I had nothing but profound respect for the playmaker era. The playmaker era is what I call it. Michael Irvin with Emmitt Smith and Troy Aikman. But it's not. The Cowboys don't make you hate them. Their fans make you hate the Cowboys.
Now that might be a true one.
Because of how just nauseating they can be.
Don't hate the game, hate the fans?
How about that? That's right. That's right. Because the Dallas
saying.
Cowboys didn't have much of a game, and the Dallas Cowboy fans would do nothing but make excuses and act like next year was always going to be a great
They're blind
year.
and illogical, you know what I mean?
Blind and illogical.
Whoa.
That's right. Blind and illogical.
Yeah.
The delusional Cowboy fans.
I'll admit it.
All right.
I am
So
that.
long as
I've
you
been
will-
that for about 17 years
Well, at least
now.
you're willing to admit it now.
Yeah.
But I do have DeMarco Murray on my fantasy team.
Okay.
And he's helping you out tremendously.
cannot-
Okay, now
Yeah.
wait a sec. You got to explain this to me.
Yeah.
And I'm the first to admit, I'm not a fantasy fan.
No.
You play, you
I play.
don't.
No.
I don't.
I know
Okay,
it.
I don't get how you can give in to this and pick a running back on a team you don't love, which is going to force you, if in fact, okay,
root
now
for them.
Giants are going to play the Cowboys this coming Sunday at Jerry World.
Right.
So what do you do? How do you sit there in good conscience and say, go DeMarco, when you know he's going against your team?
It's a weird love, Steve. It's a weird love, but you gotta like. It's benefiting you.
Again, because you're a competitor at the end of the day.
Right.
You just want to win.
Are you a fan or a competitor?
A little bit of both.
I don't get it.
Nothing wrong.
It's a little bit of both.
Yeah, there's a lot wrong.
Everybody doesn't have to be you.
Huh?
No.
Yeah, you'll take it too deep and you won't be able to play like that.
I would.
Too seriously, yeah.
So, do you think I've gone too far with my Cowboy love? Or am I just being loyal?
I think you're being loyal, and I think you're in the same boat that Steven was talking about with the Cowboys fans. That they have tunnel vision when it comes to Cowboys, and that's how I see you.
Okay, now I have criticized Tony Romo much on this show, and I did conclude 2 years ago that I don't believe Tony Romo is capable of winning a Super Bowl. But I must admit, so far this year, after that terrible first half against the 49ers in which he threw 3 picks, I'm seeing a new Tony Romo this year.
Sure am I. Somebody that hands the ball off to the running back.
No, I'm seeing.
He looks quite new.
Okay.
He looks quite new.
How about 3rd and 20 at Seattle?
He's done that
play
before.
Of the
He's
year?
done stuff like that before.
Okay.
It's just that he make a mistake afterwards.
How about 3rd and 8 in overtime to Des Bryant?
Tony Romo has performed well and has put out a lot of great plays over the years. It's just that he also would mess up.
And I want to see him in the big game too.
How about
because
that?
In the previous years, he has when they counted. I don't know if you could count on Romo. So.
Well, I agree. So, are you not counting on Romo this year?
Oh yeah, so here's the problem. Dallas has got me pinned down. Here's the reason why.
You are pinned down. I like that.
Because they can give the ball to DeMarco Murray. So because they can give the ball to DeMarco Murray, and I don't get to just see Tony Romo step back and have to fling that ball to come to the rescue, we got a problem. Because as long as you got DeMarco Murray to hand the ball over to, guess what? Tony Romo, what's the chances of you making a mistake with that?
Right.
That's the issue. I want to see Tony Romo and the Dallas Cowboys put in a situation where in order to win a football game, one that matters, they have to resort back to what they used to be in terms of Tony Romo having to come and save the day with those receivers that he has. Now, I can't imagine that happening because the way they're running the football, okay, they're not really playing a huge deficit. Now, against St. Louis, they were at a huge deficit.
21-0.
And Tony Romo came, but it's against St. Louis. I mean, don't get me started with that.
We saw that.
The point that I'm trying to make to you is that that's the kind of situation. You don't have to be down 21-0, but I'm just saying I want to see the Dallas Cowboys put into a situation where running the football is not going to get it done. In order for you to win this game, you're going to have to throw it.
Okay.
And that's what I'm going to sit back and go like this. Now let's see the accident waiting to happen. Is that going to go?
Or if it happens.
Okay. Now again, I never predicted that this team was going to go 15-1. So they're going to lose some games.
You're not predicting that now.
I'm not.
They're not going 15-1.
But you are not giving Tony Romo enough credit for what happened at Seattle. He threw it 32 times against the Legion of Boom.
But again, the difference between you and I is I'm not counting the amount of times he threw it. The fact that DeMarco Murray runs the ball so much that he had 29 carries.
It's a great option. Yeah.
It's a great option. So it's almost like play action with Tom Brady. If Ridley and Vereen can't run the football and you have nobody to hand the ball to out of the backfield and you can't exercise and display play action, then it's going to take away something from the New England Patriots and Tom Brady. But having that option helps you. When we look at Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay, one of the things we lament is the fact that he hasn't had much of a running game. Eddie Lacy was supposed to resolve that issue this year. He hasn't yet. So Aaron Rodgers stepping back and proving to be the bad man that he is. The reason I could say that about him is because it's usually on his shoulders.
Right.
Tony Romo was an accident waiting to happen along with the Cowboys because you knew all along that somehow, some way, just take your time, be patient, wait.
Okay.
The mistake is coming.
How confident are you in Tony Romo? Scale of 1 to 10. How confident are you in him moving forward?
I'm about 7.5.
Okay.
7.5 with him because you always have to look at things. Don't always say the same, but I always have to look at his past and what he's done in the past. And he does have the option, but like Steve is saying, if DeMarco goes down or gets taken out of the game for some reason, now it's going to be put back on him, and he's going to have to show and prove. So it's what he's done so far is a good showing that he's developed in that area, but from the past, I'm not too sure.
But in August, you would have been about a 4, right?
Yeah.
So you've come up.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's definitely raised his stake.
Okay, last quick point. 3rd and 20 the other day at Seattle. You tell me what happens if Romo and Terrence Williams don't pull that play off? What if it's incomplete?
may lose the game.
They're in big trouble. They're going to have to punt.
It's a big-time play by Tony Romo.
Okay. Well, you got to give it up, man.
Who scrambled out of the pocket in order to make
How about
the throw.
the spin move he
the
made on
spin move
Bruce
and everything.
Irvin?
And by the way, didn't walk off the field holding his back. I'm very proud of Tony Romo. Very proud that he was able to do that. It's a play. It was a big-time play. He made it. He deserves credit. What, you want a cookie? I mean, he's a starting quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys. He's passing 4,000 yards in the season. It's on a couple of occasions in his career. We know what he can do. We also know that he's an accident waiting to happen. The difference is they have DeMarco Murray running the football.
And you think he's an accident waiting to happen?
No, I do not.
Well,
I've
with
always
his durability.
Time out. Give me credit for this. Since you always sit there and say that, give me credit for this. DeMarco Murray has been sitting in that seat a couple of times over the last couple of years. And each time when the Dallas Cowboys would stick up the joint, and even in the midst of me predicting that they will fall flat on their face when it counted most, I still said to his face, right in front of you, the biggest problem is they won't give you the ball. I've said that to DeMarco Murray to his face on several occasions. They give you the ball, it will be an entirely different ball game. But they don't want to do it because they wanted to win Jerry's way with pizzazz and everything else. Somehow, some way, whether it's his son Stephen or somebody else, somebody is real Jerry Jones in. He's not interfering as much as he once did. He's letting the football people make football decisions. Scott Linehan with his play calling, Rod Marinelli with his defense. They're letting them do their jobs. Give Jerry Jones credit for that.
Shortly after the NBA announced its record-breaking 9-year TV deal with ESPN and Turner worth $24 billion, Kobe Bryant tweeted suggesting that the league and its owners make plenty of money, so why not the players? Well, Tuesday after practice, he said the following. Listen, business is business. I think people get that confused very easily in understanding that players should take substantially less than their market value in order to win championships. To be specific, his tweet is players are encouraged, per new CBA, to take less to win or risk being called selfish, ungrateful, while NBA TV deal goes up by $1 billion. Hashtag the biz. Skip, do you agree with what Kobe Bryant's saying?
I do not agree. And Fab, just for your background, this man and I have gone back and forth about this issue. And it's possible that Kobe's comment was aimed at my position on this. It's possible. So I'll restate my position about Kobe Bryant. Kobe, do you want to be paid what you're worth right now as a box office attraction at age 36? Or do you want to win? Do you want to take one for the team to improve your cap position and your flexibility to add players and pieces around you the way Dirk has done in Dallas? This year, Dirk will make $8 million gladly. He took $8 million this year. Tim Duncan in San Antonio this year will make $10 million to give their teams chances to build better around them than the Lakers have been able to build around Kobe Bryant. Kobe, at age 36, will be in his 19th year this year, making $23.5 million. Now, is he worth 23.5, as this man always says, is a box office attraction in LA? You better. He's worth 3 times that much, 4 times that much. But there's still a thing called a salary cap that Kobe can't talk his way out of because it's not going away. It's a fact of NBA life that your team is somewhat restricted in the pieces they can add around Kobe Bryant, who has made in his career already $280 million in salary alone. That's a lot of salary. Dirk's already made $204 million, and Tim has made $225. So they just said, we're good.
We made enough.
You know, we got our money in our bank, and we're good. We'll just take, by superstar standards, pittances. Those are just like cookie jar salaries, you know, to me. But Kobe says, no, I want the max. I want $23.5 this year, and I want $25 million next year at age 37 in his 20th year. Again, worth it at the gate and as a TV attraction, not worth it against the cap.
I don't know. It's a touchy subject because there's no cap to say what owners can do to make money for the team. And you know, as they continue to make more money, then players are supposed to take less money or be looked at in a certain way if they're trying to get more money. So it's a I understand your point because it is a team sport, and you know, like you said, after you've made so much money, you know, you can take a cut and say, you know, I would like to build a team here. But in Kobe's place, what is he building a team for his last 2 years? He could do that, or he could say, yeah, this is probably my last 2 years. Let me get my money and, you know, still do what I do at the same time.
But do you think he's saying I'd rather take my money and not win? Because he feels that's how people are portrayed.
No, I think, I mean, that's how, because the players' salaries are widely talked about. I don't think any of the ownership numbers and, you know, a deal, things like this get out, but it don't be like barbershop talk. You know what I'm saying? It's just it's a quick conversation. But the players' salaries, that's always conversation. You know what I'm saying? And I think that, like he's saying, the players get the bad end of the stick because they always, it looks selfish if they want more money or they don't take a pay cut. But the owners are not taking any cuts as well. So it's two-sided to me.
Skip Bayless and I adamantly disagree on this issue because of the perspective which we come from. Skip explained his, I'll explain mine. Kobe Bryant, first of all, doesn't believe he's going to lose when he's on the court. He believes he's going to win. That's number one. Number two, Kobe Bryant isn't of the mindset that, you know, he snatched all the money he could get. You just acknowledged that he's worth 3-4 times as much because he's box office, which means that he could have gotten more out of the Lakers. As far as he's concerned, he did take a pay cut. So now that we've gotten that issue out of the way, let's understand what Kobe Bryant's bigger issue is. If Dr. Buss, and I've said this to you on many occasions, if Dr. Buss were alive, you think Dr. Buss could have convinced Kobe to take 15 to 20 million? Yes, he could have. But Jim Buss ain't Dr. Buss. And so what happens is that when you have marquee guys in this league, think about this. Dirk Nowitzki has been a part of the Dallas Mavericks. He was there when they stunk. He watched Mark Cuban make this franchise relevant and build a championship team. As a result, you asking Dirk Nowitzki to make a sacrifice is something that he could conceive because he is set. He is in a place that he wants to be at. He is revered. He's going to be a Dallas Maverick for life. And far beyond his playing days, he's going to have a connection to that franchise and beyond that could facilitate him doing some things. We don't know what kind of relationship Mark Cuban has facilitated with folks in Germany, his homeland, where it could benefit Dirk Nowitzki down the road beyond his playing days. That's a point.
No, but you can't do that against the salary.
No, you can't do that against the salary. I guess what I'm trying to say to you is that him making that sacrifice, there's a bigger picture.
When circumventing the cap,
whatever. Okay, they can sit there and deny it all they want to. Right. Andrei Kirilenko, he's from Russia. Mikhail Prokhorov owned the Nets, still owns the Nets even though he's trying to sell. He comes to the Brooklyn Nets for considerably less. Why? Because Mikhail Prokhorov is Russian and I'm Russian, so I want to do this for my patriot? Really?
Maybe.
Whatever. The point that I'm trying to make to you, who knows what's going back on in Russia, okay? Right. When you look at Tim Duncan, here's the San Antonio Spurs. You've got 5 championships now for this organization, led by the great Greg Popovich, a great owner in Peter Holt. When they come to you and ask you to take a bit less, number one, you're looking at the credentials that they bring to the table because of what they're asking you to sacrifice for, combined to what they gave you in the past, with you understanding that as you got older, they could have left you high and dry. They could have failed to build a team around you. They didn't do all of those things. Kobe Bryant is Kobe Bryant. He's a 5-time champion. This is what he brings to the table. He's everything to L.A., and he's saying, why y'all looking at me? I delivered on my end of the bargain. His press conference last year, Skip said, oh, no, don't talk to me about rebuilding. He said, you want to hold the players accountable? What about you as an executive? What about you as an owner? You have a mandate. This is what you got to work around. Find a way to work around it because you would be telling the players the same thing. And he's looking at Joe Public and he's saying, pay attention to all of that, not just the players, because it's not just about the players. It's about them too. And everybody doesn't deserve the max and everybody doesn't get the max. And there's a lot of teams with a lot of players that don't have max players, rather, that they're winning. How come the Lakers can't find a way? Kobe Bryant has a right to ask that question. It's legitimate.
Okay, but do you give the Lakers a shot this year?
I don't give the Lakers a shot because the powers in the West are the powers in the West, but also the Lakers had enough money to go out there and get somebody other than Carlos Boozer or re-sign Swaggy P or whomever. The fact is that they didn't utilize it because Jim Buss is not Dr. Buss. I promise you, God is my witness. I swear this on my soul. If the great Dr. Buss is alive, there's no way that a LeBron James or Carmelo Anthony and all of these dudes are available in the free agent market.
I agree
and he doesn't get one of them. He gets one of them.
He would have.
They didn't get it not because of Kobe. They didn't get it because the Lakers don't hold the same stature that they once had.
But they did have an issue with Kobe's salary. And you said that Dr. Buss would have made sure that Kobe had taken less enough that they could have added with no problem.
Listen, here's the bottom line. To go from one team, the new salary cap rules stipulate that you could sign for 5 years at an exorbitant amount of dollars, but if you go for somewhere else, it's a 4-year deal. The Lakers had the 4-year max to offer at $96 million. They had that to get a team, to get somebody to come from another team to them, the max dollars that were available, they had it available. Now, I can understand if, the Lakers didn't have, if Carmelo wanted $130 million and the Lakers didn't have the money, then you make a different argument. But the rules stipulate that whatever the max was, if you were going to a different team, the Lakers had enough money for one max player to come and play with Kobe Bryant. You couldn't pull it off. And then people want to point the finger at Kobe. Well, people may not want to play with him. Really? Maybe so. He's a 5-time champion. You don't want to play with him, that's your problem.
Okay, Fab makes a deeper point here. You started off by saying the owners have it a lot better than the players, and they do. This is LeBron James' quest here. They have it much better. That's why they're the owners to start with.
Right.
But there's this thing called collective bargaining negotiation. It'll come around again, and at some point, the players need to take a stand here, right?
See, I can't believe y'all looking at me and y'all don't know where I'm going. Come on now. Skip Bayless. Kobe, LeBron, Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook, Derrick Rose, Chris Paul, cats like that, nothing to worry about. True that. But the league is 450 players strong. At least 400 of them. You're talking about dudes, Skip, that they're not getting this money anywhere else, and they're not set for life. And you're asking for young brothers to stand tall in unison against millionaires and billionaires who not only have an exorbitant amount of dollars and cut the check instead of cash them, but they also make deals with their television partners that ensure that they will still be paid in the event of a lockout. So in other words, when these players are locked out by the owners and the players are not getting paid, the owners are still getting their money on top of the money they already have. That's a lot to ask for players to sit up there and stand strong, don't fold, don't bend, or anything like that. Don't get me wrong. Sometimes, some moments, they could be a little stronger. There are other moments where they're a little bit too strong and hardcore about issues that, dare I say, may be a bit trivial or frivolous. So you got to really work through that minefield. But in the end, you've got to applaud the brothers for trying because, my goodness, look at the odds that are stacked against them. And then we're not even getting to the court of public opinion because what Kobe is alluding to, what Fab and Kerry absolutely know I'm saying is you have a Joe public out there and a Susie public out there who literally look at these players and go like this. You should be grateful. Excuse me. They have a gift that most of us don't have, which is why they're in the position that they're in, which is why they get paid what they get paid. And to ask them to have that expectation, rather, that they're supposed to just stand strong and, they agreed to it with collective bargaining. It's kind of unfair because we're not taking into account the odds that are really stacked against them.
Fabolous, you said something really good earlier. You said it's common knowledge what players make, but we don't ever hear a barbershop talk about what the owners are doing.
Yeah, I think the players are always on the front line. So, what their salaries are, that's always a big conversation. But the owners are behind the scenes. A lot of people, common people, don't even know who the owners are. So, you know, that's why it's always like that. And I think that's why the players get the short end of the stick, because even in this argument, we don't have any owners,
right,
you know, comments or anything or voices to even put to it. You know what I'm saying? And I think that...
Just real quick, how fair is it in the music industry right now as far as artists
versus the label?
Yeah.
Well, I think that the music industry is changing, where now, as we would be the players, we kind of are becoming more independent. And I think that, you know, that's what I think, in a way, Kobe is trying to imply the players to do here, like stand for your rights and become more independent and know your worth as a player, and what the music industry has forced artists to do, because you can't sit and wait on your record label or, you know, them to figure out when they need to release your music. Now you have a platform like the internet and social media where you can, you know, release.
Much like what LeBron is doing.
Last point that I need to make about is this, pointed to exactly what you just said. The music industry, in my opinion, because I don't know, but in my opinion, seems to have a clearer path towards independence.
Mm-hmm.
Professional athletes do not have that luxury. It is collectively bargained.
Sure.
Kobe Bryant, LeBron James, and all of them, they may be independent brands and independent entities, but the money that LeBron James makes outside of basketball in no way influences what he makes in basketball. This is the cap. This is what max players are allowed to make. This is what was collectively bargained. You don't get more than that. We don't care how popular you are. We don't care if you're an international icon. It means nothing to us. You still fall under the purview of what we collectively bargain. The music industry does not have to worry about that. You are allowed to be independent if you can pull it off, if you got the know-how, which some of y'all do, and I'm proud of y'all for that. But in the end, you can't compare a professional athlete to a musician.
ESPN Radio.
With the action on the court, the diamond, or the gridiron,
Comes alive.
the NBA.
The San Antonio Spurs are the world champions.
Major League Baseball.
The Boston Red Sox have won the World Series.
The new college football playoff.
The Seminoles have completed the perfect season.
Your home for the best in sports play-by-play.
ESPN Radio.
The Denver Broncos are now America's team. Well, at least that according to the Harris poll taken in mid-September. The Broncos replaced the Cowboys, who finished as America's team for each of the last 6 seasons. Dallas falls to number 4 behind the Broncos, Giants, and Packers. All right. Discussion we often have on our show. NFL analyst.
This is going to be, I'm sorry, go ahead.
NFL analyst Bryant Dawkins joins us. And before, how are you first off?
I'm fine. I'm blessed. Thank you.
You are. You always say that. I appreciate your pleasantness. All right. Skip Bayless.
Yes.
Are you surprised that your Cowboys are no longer, according to the Harris poll, officially America's team?
I'm shocked. I'm just going to be honest about this. This is a bunch of baloney.
Oh, okay.
It's just wrong because it's unfair and misleading how this poll was taken. We all know that the Dallas Cowboys have always been and still are and will be America's team. He has found it out here in the last 24 hours because he was forced to wear a Tony Romo jersey, and he was shocked at how many Cowboy fans came out of the woodwork to comment on said jersey.
I never said that.
Yes, you did. You said everywhere you turn, people were
but I
talking
wasn't
about
shocked
it.
by that.
Oh, okay, because they're everywhere.
I didn't say that. Don't engage in hyperbole.
America doesn't run on Dunkin' Donuts. It runs on the Dallas Cowboys. That's what it runs on. It runs on the Cowboys. So let's look at this poll. Only 1,300 of those polled said that they were actually followers of the National Football League. So that's a pretty small sample size. And you pointed out that the poll was taken between September 10th and 17th. So all these poor people had to go on was the opening game in which the Dallas Cowboys were blown out at home in the first half by the San Francisco 49ers, who led 28-3 at halftime. So they're all looking around saying, well, I love Peyton Manning. His jersey's still the second best seller in the league. We all love Peyton Manning. So, okay, maybe it should be the Broncos. If you're telling me that Peyton Manning is the most popular player in pro football, I can buy that. But if you're telling me that the Cowboys are no longer America's team, that's a bunch of hogwash.
Okay, let me get this right. Hogwash.
Yes.
Baloney. Okay, and this is
Balderdash.
Balderdash. And this is an unfair poll because all they had to go on was a week 1 loss.
Was one loss.
So this is completely biased.
If you retook the poll right now, of course, 10,000 people would want to participate in the poll, but not 10,000, a million people want to participate, and they would all vote for the Dallas Cowboys to be America's team because they are back, baby.
Are you surprised, my friend?
So you're basically saying that America's team has very fickle fans.
No.
That's what you're saying?
No,
even
but I don't know if these are Cowboy fans who got polled. There are only 1,300 who said they even follow the NFL.
Right.
Right?
Right.
So I don't know that.
It doesn't surprise me. And Skip, to your point, the winning of the Denver Broncos as of late, I think, has grabbed a lot of folk to jump on the bandwagon.
And you were a Bronco, so
Absolutely.
you know,
Yes.
and it is a big deal to be a
Yes, it
Bronco
is.
in Denver, Colorado.
Yes, it is.
Yep.
And I think the other thing is the likability of some of the guys. If you Peyton Manning, as you just mentioned, Demaryius Thomas, Julian Thomas. There's a lot of likable guys. But even with Champ when he was there, there's a lot of guys that are likable to a lot of fans. So I think that endears fans to join in. If you don't have a true team, if you're one of those fickle fans that are sitting out there, you may want to join in and join the bandwagon because this is a likable team. And the other thing is they've been winning consistently over the last couple of years. So they're expected to do some great things. And let's face it, me being a defensive guy, this is going to hurt me to say it, but fans like to see points put up. And the Denver offense, for the most part, they've struggled a little bit this year. But for the most part, they do a good job of putting points on the board. And I forget about my man Wes Welker. He's very likable as well. So there's likability. I
don't consider him
winning.
a Bronco, but that's okay.
Yeah. But as of right now, he is. And you know, I think that's the reason why this poll kind of swung this way.
Bottom line is simple. It sickens me to admit this, but this poll is bogus.
Thank you.
There's no way on earth that the Giants should be number 2 in this poll. It just shouldn't be. I mean, when you talk about popularity, I mean, listen, I'm not going to sit there and say that the Cowboys are the most loved team in the nation. I will say they're most popular in terms of being loved or hated. Of course, people like you and myself can relate to that. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it don't bother me at all. As far as I'm concerned, the haters might as well love me because ain't nothing but love that come from the hate. So I'm good. So the point that I'm talking about in various other ways. The more haters you have, the more love you'll find out.
Get your haters up.
There you go. Get your haters up. Listen to Cat Williams. He'll tell you about that. There's a different story for another day. The point that I'm trying to make to you is this. When you look at the Broncos, that's about Peyton Manning. And Peyton Manning is loved, believe it or not, because he's Peyton Manning. What I mean by that is that, have you ever talked to this guy? This guy is class personified. He's an incredibly nice man. Good dude. He's hilarious. I think he should be hosting Saturday Night Live when he stops playing. He's hysterical, okay? Peyton Manning is an all-around great dude. And so the fact that he's a great football player, plus he's a great dude, basically finds you in a position where you're never rooting against him.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? You don't want any harm to come to him. You don't want him to get embarrassed in the Super Bowl. You don't want stuff like that to happen to him. But to me, Tom Brady is more popular than Peyton Manning because Tom Brady evokes jealousy. I mean, you look at Tom Brady and go like this, damn, he looks good. Look at that top 4 blazer.
Isn't that why a lot of people hate him?
Yeah.
No, but that's what I'm saying. But that's what
that's
what I just finished pointing to about how they hate. You see, in other words, you know, there's different types of likability. There are guys that are really liked, but those who are most popular are the ones that have more haters. More haters, people with more haters are actually more popular because there's never indifference. Always remember, Skip, the death of it all. You understand what I'm saying? Just like with relationships, the death of popularity is not whether somebody loves or hates you, it's when they're indifferent to you. And in Peyton Manning's case, even though he's loved, you take it towards indifference because he's Peyton Manning. I mean, what's there to say about him? There's nothing bad to say about him. Whereas Tom Brady, damn, he looks good. Look at that Tom Ford blazer. You see his wife with that commercial? No wonder he married Tom. Damn, I mean, Tom Brady got it good. You know, the mansion, they showed the house that they bought in the off season. You see all of this stuff. You don't know any of that about Peyton Manning. You don't know anything about Peyton Manning. You don't see, you don't know how long he's been married. You don't know his kids look like. You don't know anything about Peyton Manning. You know nothing about him. You just know he's a great football player and an incredibly nice guy. But Tom Brady.
They're only 8th on this
But
list,
what I'm saying to you is the Patriots should be above. The Patriots are the only team that should be above the Cowboys. That's basically my point.
The Steelers took a beating at the hands of the Browns in a 31-10 loss on Sunday, and now former Steelers are questioning the team's toughness. Former coach Bill Cowher said the team was finesse on offense and soft on defense during the CBS postgame show. And former receiver Hines Ward shared his sentiment on NBC's Football Night in America. They're very close to hitting the panic button. The defense looks soft. Guys are just able to run the ball up and down the field. I look at their personnel. They can't cover anybody in the secondary. Offensively, I thought I'd never say it, but the Steelers are a finesse offense right now. I don't even know who those guys are. Mike Tomlin responded, obviously I respect those men, but I take their opinions with their job in the media with a grain of salt because they've got a job to do. I don't worry about that. That's elevator music as far as I'm concerned. I'm concerned about the things that are significant, and that's the men inside the organization right now and how they prepare and how they play. We are putting the Steelers on the hook. Are the Steelers soft, as some critics would say? NFL analyst Brian Dawkins hanging out with us. You were anything but in your playing days. So obviously this is a good question for you. Do you believe, from what you've seen up to week 7, Steelers soft?
Lady, gentlemen, there are not too many words you can use that will bring as much anger than the word soft to a football team. Mm-hmm. And when you imply soft, that means that not only do I not want to go to the contact area, contact zone, and be involved in it, that I'm actually shying away from it. All right? I don't see that when I look at the film with these guys. I don't see guys shying away from contact. Now, when Hines Ward talks about offense looking soft, I think he may be judging to his level of physicality. You got to remember, when Hines blocked you, you knew you were in a ball game. When I watched film, I knew I was going to be in a ball game because he's going to bring it the whole day. So his blocking technique is going to be completely different than everybody you see from a receiver position. But I don't see this team lacking the want to be physical. Talent, on the other hand, is different. You look at the numbers of what the Steelers defense has gone through the last maybe since 2011 level, and it's unbelievable. 2011 they gave up 4.5 yards per carry or per play. Yep. This year they're giving up 5.7. They've given up 13 plus 10 plus yard gains per game. That means the big play. When we played against the Steelers, what you knew is you're going to be in a tight ball game because they're not going to give up big plays. They're going to tackle well, and they're going to get timely turnovers. Yep. I think they only have 6 turnovers this year. So that's telling you that they can't get off the football field. They're not tackling well. They're giving up big plays, and they're not getting to the quarterback to get turnovers. So that, to me, that's where the problem is. A lot of age on the defensive side of the ball that was left unchecked for a while, and now I think it's catching up with them now because they can't get off the football field.
Brian Dawkins, I completely disagree with you. A matter of fact, in all the time that you've been on this set, as astute as you are, and I know your credentials, so I don't question them. I completely and emphatically disagree with you more today than I ever have in all my years of knowing you. And we go back to the days in Philadelphia where we would be in a locker room and you would school and educate me about what was going on there. And the reason why I say, Skip Bayless, that I emphatically disagree with him is because you're one of the people that set a standard. And you know what Hines Ward was saying. Mm-hmm. You know what Bill Cowher was saying. Do I have a right to call the Eagles soft, hypothetically speaking, because we're not talking about them, and I'm certainly not trying to imply that. But would I have the right to call the Eagles soft? No. But if you did, it would matter because you're part of the standard and the tradition that was set and ultimately lived up to. And if you're watching it disintegrate before your very eyes, you got a right to speak on that. Bill Cowher. We talking about 3 coaches in Pittsburgh law. Chuck Noll, Bill Cowher, and now Mike Tomlin. There's only 2 other people that got a right to say that about Mike Tomlin's team. Yep. Guess who's one of them? It would happen to be Bill Cowher. Okay, a Super Bowl champion, 2 Super Bowl visits, and if nothing else, was hardcore with him spitting in your face while talking to you and just losing it and all of this other stuff. This is Bill Cowher we're talking about here. Offensively, Hines Ward, what was one of the things he was notorious for? This dude would hit people more than they hit him, and he was a wide receiver. He's got a license to say something like that. Now, let's go to what you said. Mm-hmm. Well, when you said the Steelers can't tackle, can't get to the passer. You know what that remind me of, Skip? One time when I used to do NBA shoot-around years ago, and I was doing it with my man Greg Anthony and Tim Legler with John Saunders, and they was like, well, Kwame Brown, well, you know, he's got bad footwork, and you know, he's got small hands. And so because of that, he's compromised defensively. And then Tim Legler comes back, and he says, well, you know what, offensively, because of those small hands, can't really catch the ball, can't really shoot or whatever. And then I looked at the camera, and I said, what y'all mean is he can't play. You see what I'm saying? And that's what I'm thinking about when you're talking about the Steelers. We're talking about, wait a minute, if you can't tackle and you can't get to the quarterback, this is the steel curtain we're talking about here. Yes, that would qualify you to be soft because you are measured against the tradition that has been established. Now, Shazier, he's out. We get that. Jarvis Jones, he's out. We understand that. Mike Mitchell came over from Carolina, still got to get himself acclimated to things. Ike Taylor, he's out. William Gay and Spencer, whoever the hell knows, whoever else is in their secondary. Ryan Clark is gone. So we understand why some of those problems may exist when it comes to the Steelers. But in the end, what it comes down to is this. You can't tackle. You can't get to the quarterback. You gave up a 24-point lead on the opener to the Cleveland Browns before you escaped with a victory with a field goal at the end of that game. You lost to Tampa fresh off of getting stomped on Thursday Night Football by the Atlanta Falcons, down 56-0. They come back the next week and beat you. You follow that up with a subpar performance against the Jacksonville Jaguars, which ended up with a win. And then after that, you lose in the fashion that you lost this week to Cleveland this time around. I ain't even mentioned the fact that they got stomped in week 2 against Baltimore. I applaud Mike Tomlin for his professionalism, his decorum, the way he handled it, expressing respect and love for those brothers. But he respectfully said he's going to be concerned with his team. He has a reason to be concerned with his team. Cower and Hines Ward called them soft. I'm going to roll with that because that's what I'm seeing.
So now we find out if they're soft or not. You're saying it's just lack of talent, not lack of heart or guts. Well, they just got called out the way, as you pointed out to start this, the way no team ever wants to get called out. So now we find out if they are soft. How do they respond to this? And the reason this team has mystified me is because of the third game of this year. They went down to Carolina. Carolina's pretty tough at home, right? And they just stomped them 37-19, and Le'Veon goes 21 times for 147, and Blunt goes 10 times for 118. That ain't soft. 37-19, and that same team turned right around and came home and lost to Tampa Bay 27-24. And since then, they struggled to beat the Jaguars, and then they got stomped by the Browns. What has happened to that? Something is wrong inside this team. I don't know if it's heart or guts. It's just wrong. Something's going the wrong direction, and the coach is going to be on the hot seat.
The coach is going to be on the hot seat, which I'm concerned about, but let's keep in mind, Brian, and then I'll let you go. Here's the deal. When you call soft, what they're saying is you're playing soft. They ain't calling NFL players soft, but you're playing soft. That's the deal.
I like that one. Because if you call me soft, that means that every fiber in me is soft. There's nothing soft about me when it comes to football. But if you're saying that on that particular block, you turned your shoulders,
or that
you actually gave up that particular
game that week.
I can dig that.
The Cowboys shocked many after their 30-23 win in Seattle on Sunday. Dallas physically dominated the Seahawks, handed them their second loss at home since the start of 2012. Owner Jerry Jones still flying high after the win.
We can't dwell on it, and I know, but we should smell the roses here just a little bit. I know we're back to concentrating on the Giants and have got to, but our guys know they can do something today that they did not know they could do when we arrived in Seattle. That's a material thing. That's a tangible thing. That's not intangible.
It's not intangible. All right. Brian Dawkins still hanging out with us, our NFL analyst for the day. What do you make?
Body language.
And he threw his pin down. Yeah. So, therefore, he's not pleased with the one Jerry Jones comments. What do you make of his comments?
In the beginning of the season, a lot of us talked about the Dallas Cowboys and what they have to do to win. The focus it's going to take for that offense, the coaches, to get rid of all the things they did in the past with passing the ball all the time and run it on a consistent basis to get the defense off the field so that their weaknesses at that point we thought would not be exposed. They're playing 12 less plays per game because of that. The focus is on point. They're not making mental mistakes. Rob Marinelli has these guys running to the ball like demons.
He does.
They're getting to the rock. They're getting on third down, and they're getting off the football field for the most part. So the owner then comes out and says, not even halfway through the season, it's okay for us to now enjoy what we have been doing. It's okay for you to take a deep breath. One of the reasons I believe this team is playing the way that they're playing, as well as they're playing, is because they're playing with that chip. People disrespected us offensively.
That is true.
They're all over my quarterback. They disrespected us on defense. So now your owner's coming out saying, yes, we're going to look to the next team, but smell the roses a little bit. No, don't smell the roses. As a matter of fact, if it's a rose, make sure it's a dead rose. So when you smell it, it stinks. It makes you focus even more. I don't understand how you as an owner to come out and say that your team that's been playing as well as they've been playing and are on a very slippery slope when it comes to if one individual, I'm not going to say any names, if one individual sprains an ankle or something, that this team goes completely in a different direction, in my opinion. So now your owner comes out once again and says something out of his mouth to take the focus off the football team, what they're doing on the field, and put it on him. And now we're talking about him once again. I don't understand.
I'm going to attempt today to defend what sounds like an indefensible statement from the owner, general manager of the Dallas Cowboys. I realize it's a very dangerous statement that he made because it speaks to we have arrived, we deserve this week to rest on our laurels with those no-good Giants coming to Jerry World. I believe Jerry was speaking a deeper message here to his staff and his football team, which is we need to step back and realize that we just proved how good we can be, maybe how great we can be, and we need to accept that because Jerry wants to reinstill the confidence that has been missing in this team for several 8-8 years in a row. So I'm going to respect that today, even though it scares me to death when he opens his mouth and says something like that.
You want the Cowboys to win the division?
Do I want them to win it?
Yeah. You sure?
No.
That's funny.
Let them talk. Let them keep talking. That is a replica of the Cowboys that I know and love so much. Let them keep talking. Don't say a word. Let them talk.
Another special guest joining First Take tomorrow. Director Michael Rappaport will join the debate desk. He's always fun when he's here. He's talking specifically about his 30 for 30 documentary, When the Garden Was Eden. It was about the glory days of the Knicks and Madison Square Garden. He's a huge Knicks fan. You don't want to miss it. Again, tomorrow morning on First Take, 10 a.m. Eastern, right here on ESPN2. Let's talk some football, shall we? Our Ed Warder addressed the chance that Brian Hoyer will be the long-term answer in Cleveland. Here's a tweet he put out. Despite early season Browns' success and Brian Hoyer's contribution to it, team has shown, quote, zero interest in negotiating extension so far. Of the 20 quarterbacks for the Browns since 1999, he's the only one thus far, Stephen A., with a winning record, but yet they have shown zero interest, as our Ed Warder is reporting. Should they be interested in extending his contract?
I think they should be interested. I think that Brian Hoyer has proven to be a capable quarterback. He's only completing about 60% of his passes. They are 30th in the league in pass attempts. They don't throw the football more than most teams in the league. They've got the 10th ranked offense in yards, 9th overall in points, but they've got the number 3 rushing attack. So their mentality is probably that, look, he's essentially a game manager. Keep the mistakes to a minimum. He's only thrown 1 interception on the season with 7 touchdowns.
That's pretty good.
And so that's pretty good. That's pretty impressive. His QBR, I don't know what his QBR is.
He's 7th in the league.
7th in the league. He's got like a 99.5 quarterback rating. I think Brian Hoyer has proven to be good. I think he deserves more respect that he's been given. I think people who clamor for Johnny Manziel, I think that's a mistake because I don't think he's done anything to earn anybody clamoring for Johnny Manziel. But I do believe and I do suspect that it tells us something about Johnny Manziel and whether or not he's coming. Because if you are of the mindset that you're not interested in really talking negotiations with Brian Hoyer and you have questions about him being your future, why would you have those questions unless you had somebody already in your staple who you were confident could fulfill his shoes?
So you say
I suspect that Johnny Manziel, that they want the Johnny Manziel era to begin by next season. That's what I suspect.
I'm assuming that. But I don't think this is going to be a simple decision on their part, because I'm going to remind you, on draft night, that staff was split down the middle on yes and no on Johnny Manziel.
I agree.
And this staff, I know for a fact, starting with the head coach, they love Brian Hoyer and they should love him. Has he not played great?
Yes.
And he came off the ACL reconstruction of his own.
Bringing them back.
Hey, this is the feel-good story of the year in pro football so far.
Yeah.
So I look at it, and I don't think it's going to be a simple decision, because you are developing two commodities here if Johnny gets to play and continues to show that he can play, which I believe he will. Now, for me, it would be a no-brainer. I would want to ease Johnny in down the stretch. Remember, their schedule, after 3 easy games coming up, it gets really hard going home. 5 of the last 8 are on the road. And then you got Colts, Bengals, Panthers, Ravens to finish. Now, do I want to throw Johnny into that fire? My point is, maybe Brian Hoyer will come back to earth a little bit, and you'll finally sit back and say, well, I don't know if he's the future. So I appreciate the fact that they have not wanted to overreact and extend him with some big contract and make him the future of the franchise.
Got it.
Johnny Manziel is the future of this franchise. Now, is this the best for Johnny? I know some people close to him think this is great for Johnny, that it helps him to grow up a little bit, humble him a little bit, and it never, we saw Aaron Rodgers stand for 3 years.
By bet you mean being benched, right?
Yeah, just standing and watching.
Okay.
He's not benched as much as he just has to, it's not like he's being
He has to learn.
Yeah, he just has to stand with the clipboard and figure it out and watch it unfold on the fly from up close and personal without being in the fray. Aaron Rodgers took 3 years of standing watching Brett Favre before he got on the football field.
Yeah, that's true. And Brian Hoyer is no Brett Favre.
Nope.
However, he is playing well. He's a homegrown product. And considering the fact that he's playing well and the team is winning, they could very well be 6-2 after 8 weeks, halfway through the season. So it's something that we've got to watch and monitor. They've got 3 running backs who they can give the ball to, all are averaging over 4 yards a carry in Tate, West, and Kroll.
They're the only team with 3 200-yard-plus running backs. That's pretty good.
Okay. So I give them
which
credit,
is taking pressure off.
I give them credit where credit is due. But it's going to be, I think this is a way of them saying the Johnny football era, we fully intend to go forward with that.
I hope that's right.
And you just said Brian Hoyer's QBR is 7th in the league?
Yeah, it's 75.47th in the league.
Oh, that's not bad.
And, you know, then there's also the possibility you could trade one of these guys if you have 2 commodities. And, of course, you could always, if you're the Houston Texans.
Here we go. We're going with that.
The Texans could offer maybe a second-round draft choice for Johnny Manziel and wind up with Johnny and Clowney.
If you're Cleveland, because of your recent history of ineptitude, if you let go of Hoyer with him winning football games for you, then that adds more pressure to Johnny football, and we don't know how that's going to pan out.
Would you trade Johnny, though? See, I would entertain moving Johnny.
Yeah.
Depending on what I could get for him.
Clowney.
Wow. I don't know what I could get for him, and if Hoyer remains as consistent as he's been.
Again, tomorrow on the show, director Michael Rappaport will join us at the desk. He is an actor. You like him more so than directing. Justified. You love it.
You know he got eaten up into Deep Blue Sea.
Oh, he got eaten up.
Shark.
Eaten up. We got killed in Justified.
Shark ate him.
Okay, we'll see you tomorrow, Michael. 10 a.m. Eastern on ESPN 2. I didn't know he got chewed up.
Bit him in half.